способ.
Это, кстати, вот к вопросу о том, о чем я говорил. У нас камера кроп и портретная, и объектив оба портретные. И брать с близкого расстояния какой-то общий план, вообще Unreal, камера кроп, она в 2 раза больше ровно дает картинку. То есть, если полнокадровая была бы, то она ровно в 2 раза больше захват делала. И аналогично с объективами, у нас оба они портретные. То есть, это мне изначально насчет видео про хаб, который я делаю, я уже 3 раза за него брался, и 3 раза я в эту проблему упираюсь. Я например, это помещение я не могу его взять в кадр. То есть, мне просто не хватает угла обзора. Он нужен либо объектив широкоугольный, даже сильно широкоугольный, он на кроп все равно смысла нет.
Что делать?
Камеру нужно полнокадровую. Изначально она бралась под формат, типа говорящая голова, для такого формата портретная нормально. Ее можно дальше поставить, просто, допустим, если здесь сидит спикер, ее в тот конец поставил, и норм. А для всего остального не очень.
Ты запустил стрим?
Да.
Дай мне линк.
Линк, да. Телефон.
Я бы взял, просто попробовал в аренду погонять какой-нибудь объектив широкоугольный, посмотрел бы, как оно с ним. Это такой вариант. По цене самый будет приемлемый.
Подожди, это ж получается уже записывается.
Ты же говорил, вживую пойдешь прямо сейчас, чтобы линк дать.
Уже в эфире. И скотч Андрея тоже в эфире.
Давай, Андрюха, начинаем, уходи. Позови, пожалуйста, Тимофея.
Уже стрим включили.
Никто смотреть не будет.
Нет, сейчас начинаем. 5 человек уже в онлайне.
Да.
Отлично. Сейчас Тимофея ждем и все. А что со звуком? Попробуйте это, как звук и так далее. Звук нормальный? Ребят, кто там смотрит? Звук ок или не ок? Прокомментируйте, пожалуйста. В чате, который в YouTube.
Надо будет дверь закрывать.
Дякую.
А по всьому іншому і звуки поки що ніяк. Поки що дані. Як тільки ми зберемо дані,
Закривай, може в онлайні.
я вибиваю. Окей, а потом все, я в онлайне на YouTube, на блокчейн буду говорить. Всем привет. Вот. Нет, называть не буду. Все, пока, всем. Все, я потом пришлю вам линк. Значит, данные. Татьяна, я тогда с тобой спешусь, а все остальное в имейле, и мы, я думаю, к концу осени закончим статью. Все, пока. До завтра. Окей.
Так, я линк отправляю и...
Ты отправил меня вот тут.
В Телеграм, да.
Мы английский, на английском язычке будем.
Давай.
Все говорить. Сейчас я зафигачу линк. Как его?
Все падает, вообще красота.
Все падает вообще. Так что надо.
Давай.
Окей.
Отправь линк и начинаем.
Да, я отправил. Давай подождем 30 секунд. Ну что, я буду просто с тобой разговаривать. Окей.
Воду можно.
Как тебя представить?
Не клацаем, чтобы
Слушай, микрофон.
со звуком, да.
Как тебя представить лучше?
Блокчейн хаб, либо ассоциация.
А про Куну мы поговорим?
Вообще задавай все, что
Что хочешь, да?
Еще твои, я смотрю, не смотрят.
Они вообще могут не смотреть, будут вечером. Оно останется у нас?
Конечно, это волна не останется. Ну что, тогда
Да,
рассказывай.
я еще покажу своим в школе потом и буду использовать. То есть, если они сейчас мне будут писать что-то, отлично. Если они будут вечером, у них домашка все равно будет, поэтому
Все,
придется всем посмотреть. Okay, good. So let me introduce Michael. Michael is the founder and the owner, I guess, of Blockchain Hub. You're also involved with Blockchain Association in Ukraine, and you also have been involved in trading for a while. KUNA Exchange is one of your projects.
That's right.
What are other projects that you have? And then we'll come back to trading and to KUNA.
I also have the Cryptomat, which is the Bitcoin ATM. I'm also involved in Crypto Grivna, which is the stable coin based on the local national currency. And I think that's it. Oh, I also have a fund. That's it. Yeah, I also have a fund. Yeah, but it's non-for-profit fund, so it's
it's a development fund for the.
It's not for development. It's it's also for development. It's fund devoted for innovations in civil tech. It doesn't have to be related to blockchain, but if it is, it's a plus. But it doesn't have to be.
All right. So you're perhaps most known for the exchange, at least among economists here in Ukraine and elsewhere. For the Bitcoin exchange, what is traded currently on your? What kind of cryptocurrency is tradable?
Obviously, the Bitcoin, Ether. Monero is launching this week or next week. Zcash, Dash, NEM.
Okay, I get it. The
can't
main
remember,
coins.
yeah, probably
And
like
how
20
long have you
coins.
had? How long have you had KUNA? When did you launch?
I launched as the alpha. We launched on April 9th, I guess, 2016.
So it's 2 years, 2.5 years.
And we came out of beta in September of 2016 as well.
I see. Okay.
Oh yeah, that was the birthday, 2-year birthday. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You just had 2-year birthday.
Yeah.
And why did you start it, or how did you come to start an exchange?
I started off with the manual exchange, like OTC. And
right?
yeah, and then basically it was just a matter of time when I needed to scale up. And in end of 2015, police raided my apartment looking for Bitcoins. 15.
15?
Yeah, police raided
The local police, the
local
Ukrainian
police.
police.
Yeah. They raided apartment looking for the proof that I was dealing with Bitcoin, which was, and they're looking for like document proof, like papers, obviously it wasn't, surprise to anyone that I was doing Bitcoin, because it was like on the web, on the news. Everyone knew that, at that time Bitcoin was equal to Michael Chobanyan in Ukraine. So they were looking for Bitcoins. They didn't find any because they didn't understand what it is. They were looking for papers.
Did they arrest you?
No, just.
So they just raided your apartment and
Looked around, found nothing, and
searched
left.
your apartment. Did they
Yeah,
take anything away?
they took all the electronic items apart from a fridge and washing machine. So like the router, all the computers. I had a collection of phones. I'm coming from telecom, so I had a collection of really old phones, with the NMT standard, which doesn't exist anymore. So they took even NMT phones. They took a pager. They took all my old credit cards, which already expired. They took CDs for some reason. What else they took? All the SIM cards, like memory cards, everything which could store something. They took everything, and they gave it back in December last year.
So it took them about
2 years.
2 years?
Exactly 2 years.
They kept your stuff for 2 years?
Yeah.
Did they find any evidence of you
Nope.
trading?
I mean, nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
I
So
mean,
you
they
didn't
just-
lose any, and no wallets were raided?
No, it was just old equipment.
I see.
And why I said that, I used that situation to bring it to the broader public instead of just being well known in the crypto space, which was small at the time. I could manage to take this thing to TV, and that was immediately popular, and that was the perfect time to
Launch an exchange?
not to the exchange, but to do a crowdfunding campaign, which is now called ICO, but at that time there was no ICO as the abbreviator, it was only crowd sale. So I did the crowd sale, I collected 286 Bitcoins.
286
Yeah.
Bitcoins?
At the time that was like $125, $1,000, something like that. So that was the first and largest ICO in ex-Soviet countries at that time.
What would be the price of, in today's, would be 285 Bitcoins would be, what is that?
Multiplied by 6,000, 200.
So it's like,
Not too much again, but
well,
yeah.
still it's over $1 million.
Yeah, obviously. And yeah, so I collected the money, and then in 3 months we launched the alpha of the exchange.
And if it's not secret, do not reveal anything you don't want to, but what are the volumes, or what is the turnover, number of people, how popular is your exchange? You're trading...
That's the open market data, so you can anyone can look it up. You go to CoinMarketCap and you just type in the KUNA, and you'll see. So right now it dropped from, in December it was over the million a day. Now it's about 300,000 a day, so we dropped 3 times, which is a big drop. But if you compare it to the volumes on the other exchanges, they drop like 10 times or 20 times.
And you're trading, so the fiat, the currency...
Local, that's the whole point, yeah. The majority of pairs are local currency to crypto.
So this is your niche, or
That's my niche, that's right.
competitive advantage, where you're trading, exchanging crypto for local Ukrainian currency. Who are your competitors? Direct and indirect. So
Direct competitors, I only have 2 right now. That's the 2 exchanges which also have the local currency, which is BTC Trade and Exmo. They also have Grivna. There is one launching end of this week. They're saying they're launching. They'll also have Grivna. And indirect competitors, all the other exchanges.
And outside of the exchange, why do people, so I would like to think about the competitors from a business school, a little bit of a perspective. So people use crypto, those who come to, you might not know, but what's your perception of why do people come and buy and trade?
Right now or before?
Or before, right now. I will ask a question later, how things have changed, the distribution, but maybe the first question is, what kind of service you provide, essentially, in terms of, in economic terms. Who are the people who trade? Are the guys who are just entering to trade, or is it these are people looking to invest in some assets which are alternative to what they have in Ukrainian market, or are these people laundering Ukrainian real? I'm not trying to push you in any corner, but I'm just trying to see, because they might have an alternative, let's say buying dollars, using hryvnia to buy dollars rather than Bitcoin. If they want to, let's say, exchange this for some other currency outside of the country, or maybe they do not trust Ukrainian hryvnia and are afraid of devaluation or something like that.
I got that. The question, the answer to your question would be, my service is basically, think of it as a market, food market. So I own the food market, and there are merchants who sell, and there are buyers who come and buy. I take a small commission from the trade. That's it.
Yeah.
Why they come to my market is because I provide them convenience. I allow them to use Visa MasterCards denominated in hryvnias, issued by the local banks. So I allow them to use that funds to top up and withdraw from the exchange. That's one, because you can't use Ukrainian card to top up Bitfinex or any other Binance, any other big exchanges. That's one. Secondly, they trust my name and my company. So if anything happens to the exchange, they know where to go and where to look. We're right now located in my office, which is in center of Kyiv.
Actually, you
It's
exist
public.
physically.
Yeah, we physically exist, and anyone can come, and it's a public office. So if you want to work with us in co-working, go and do it, no problem. The reason for going into crypto, there are a lot of different issues why, but I would split them in 3 time frames. From 2009 till mid 2016, and then from mid 2016 till now, and from now on probably I can presume till the end of the year it's not going to change. So before the mid of 2016, that was the era of crypto anarchists, of believers, of people who wanted to change this world. They believed in technology. They believed in white paper written by Satoshi Nakamoto. They believed in this ideology. They still don't trust the state. They don't trust the banks. They don't trust the intermediaries.
But can we slow down here? Just
Yeah, sure.
ask a question, and then we'll come to two other areas. Satoshi, in the paper, there's no ideology of not trusting the state. It's a more, at least to me, my reading of the paper is a little bit more matter of fact. He or she does, or the group, or they don't motivate. They're saying this is just a decentralized system of recording. It's a payment system, and this is how it's gonna work. It's very sort of technological kind of letter in the paper. So it's an intriguing question where the philosophy of anarchy and anti-state undermining the centralized authority. Where did it come from? Because it's not in the original paper, at least not strongly.
I got it, but if we open up the white paper, it says decentralized cash, peer-to-peer.
Correct. It says right there, but it doesn't
system.
say anything about the state or alternative. It doesn't.
Yeah, but it talks about the peer-to-peer
Yes.
payment system, and it says cash, and it says decentralized.
Correct.
Which is basically, it says decentralized money.
Yes, I agree with that.
And the reason for that is basically, this is the opposition, if you can call it, to the Wall Street. That's why we had Occupy Wall Street. So the ideology of this technology, I think that's the very good point, that they actually didn't say anything about the state of finance.
And yet, at the same time, it picked up. So
Exactly.
there was a market for that. Sort of, or who were the early ambassadors who?
Geeks. It was purely geeks.
Mm-hmm.
In 2009, it was just the geeks who understand the cryptography, who understand the code. There were no wallets, graphical user face wallets. It was only command line. Obviously were only geeks. But then it started to take up, and then the commerce people started to come in, and they built the exchange. They built the wallets, and the ecosystem started to grow. So it was. At first, it was only just the tech people, and then the early adopters coming from the e-commerce side, and then they just started this new movement.
Okay, and so around 2016, you said before that essentially
Ended the era of
crypto anarchy, you said, or something like that.
yeah, you can call it crypto. For some, it's still crypto anarchy. I'll say the romance of the free,
the early period, the early
exactly.
romantic period of
and it was just substituted by pure greed. So the only reason why people came into the crypto after mid of 2016, I'm not saying everyone, I'm just saying majority, it was just pure greed. Speculation. Buy cheap, sell high. Most of the time it actually worked reverse, so you're buying really high and selling low, fixing the
Fixing the losses.
Yeah, losses and leaving the market. But anyway, it was the period of greed, and we saw what happened in December of 2017. That was like the top of the bubble, of greed bubble, and now it's still bursting, really bad. You can see that it's still dropping. Ethereum dropped 11% just in 24 hours. That's a big drop because it was dropping 11% the year before. I don't give any financial advice.
I know, but
I don't give any financial.
Fine. You shouldn't.
Yeah. So I would say that up until now, because I don't see any greed people anymore in the market. There are only few left. So now we got almost back to the level of mid 2016 when it was people who wanted to develop the ecosystem, build new products, provide new services, and so on. So what I see right now, it's we are returning back to that state, but we are post the bubble period. What I see, and I guess it will happen till the next of a year, until the end of a year, is that it will continue. We'll just see new services, quality services popping up until end of this year. What's going to happen next year, I don't know, but I see that right now is like perfect place and time to develop your own service, which is devoted not to scam people, not to collect money from ICOs, but actually to provide decent service with the good people and so on.
Okay, so and what do you think is the next year gonna bring us? There will be more development, or you think things will be fading out? So fundamentally, do you think the technology is gonna be something disruptive, that there will be sufficient real economy services eventually around that, or is this just going to stay a niche? So economists talk about general purpose technologies and then specific purpose technologies. For instance, general purpose technology would be electricity or internet or World Wide Web or something like that everyone can use it for different purposes, but it is general. It takes a long time for the things to develop, but eventually everyone in their phone will have elements. I have electricity here, I have internet here, and I use it for communication. Specific technologies could be, let's say, rubber bands, being produced for something very, very well. It's still large, but rubber is not being used generally, right? Unlike electricity. So some economists argue that blockchain is really a general purpose technology. And it might take a long time for all these applications and ecosystem to be built, but eventually the idea of distributed ledger is something which is fundamentally useful for the economy because it can decrease costs of networking and costs of verification.
So what's the question?
The question is it true? Do you share the opinion that this is a general purpose technology, or do you think it is more of a niche kind of technology, that it will stay with a niche group of people?
Well, for what I observed personally, at the start of the year there was a Davos in Switzerland, and pretty much the theme of the conference was blockchain. Pretty much again, everyone said the blockchain is the technology for the fourth industrial revolution, and we have even the books written on that topic by the founder of the Davos conference. So I have no doubt that the blockchain is here to stay. We're gonna see a lot of products coming on the blockchain. If we're looking at just the finance market, because I'm involved more in the finance rather than logistics or any other sectors of economy, I see that a lot of existing businesses in the traditional finance world, they're looking right now, because the bubble is already bursted, yet they're looking at this technology and this market, and they're looking how to build something hybrid between the old world and the crypto world. So I can say that probably in the next year we're going to see a lot of new services coming from the traditional finance institutions. Okay, we're talking about the crypto service. So I won't be surprised if Goldman Sachs will release a wallet or a service devoted to crypto. I won't be surprised if traditional banks will do something with crypto, and the first star on this new planet or galaxy is what's the name of the bank? I forgot. I want to say that quickly. There's a bank in Liechtenstein which is issuing a stable coin backed by Swiss franc.
Yes, that's correct.
Union Bank, I guess. I think it's Union Bank. I forgot. Yeah, we already contacted them. So that's the the first step. Create electronic money on the blockchain, backed by they call it real money in the world.
So can we talk a little bit about this idea of stablecoin, because a lot of people criticize cryptocurrency as not being yet a viable currency. Okay.
They're saying it's not backed by anything.
As economist, I would, actually I would disagree with that. Also, you can say that, the US dollar is backed by what? First by trust, second by taxation power that the US government
I would say it's more by US Army.
okay, fine. US Army or US law or combination of those.
Be nice to America will bring democracy to your country.
Well,
I saw that sticker.
All right, that's a sticker. That's I think it's more, but in a sense, I think it's, in my view, the value of a cryptocurrency is backed by the economy on the blockchain, by whatever is the value it's generating. That's an economist speaking. I'm thinking about, okay, I'm coming to blockchain to do certain services. It might be I'm just playing, CryptoKitties, but I can be playing CryptoKitties, or I can be playing collecting Ukrainian stamps and exchanging them. Both are in some sense useless activities, but I enjoy collecting things and I'm willing to pay some of my other value that I generate in the economy. So something like that can be happening. So I'm less concerned about as an economist, but many people would. I just think they need to study money, the issue of money a little bit better. It's not even private money anymore. It's public money. It's decentralized money. I think when people talk about instability, they are talking about the exchange rate.
That's right. That's what we see. That's exactly why I put this on. Yeah.
Right. We're talking about the exchange rate to the United States dollar, to euro, to some other currencies which are, and I think people are even less concerned about the exchange rate to Ukrainian hryvnia. Fundamental. I'm not talking in Ukraine. Fundamentally, but USD or euros is of concern, and there are now stable coins. Right. The idea is that they try to track the value of a currency, of fiat currency like US dollar. How does it work? Do you think these guys are bound? How can they hedge the risks of that type, where you have Ethereum falling down by 10% over 24 hours? Aren't they bound to be bankrupt on this? So how do stable coins work?
Well, first of all, let's discuss what's a stable coin.
Yeah, let's discuss what's a stable coin.
So the stable coin is, you can call it a cryptocurrency, but it's a token usually on any blockchain network. For example, ERC20 token on the Ethereum network. So it's a token which is on the blockchain, which is backed by some assets or currencies or something valuable. So you can have the stable coin backed by water. You can have the stable coin backed by fiat in a bank account, or in cash, or in gold, or in shares, or in something. So it's basically it's very close to derivative, but
it's a digital asset. The Royal Mint, I think I was reading about Royal Mint trying to create the UK Royal Mint trying to create a digital asset on blockchain, which is backed by 1 gram of gold that they're holding in their reserve.
In their
vaults. You don't even have to move it, but you own it, right? And so that would be a digital asset.
So the reason why stable coins came up is because a banking system and the governments, they work from 9 till 5. They have bank holidays. So for example, last Monday there was the Labor Day in US. So the SWIFT payments in US dollars were closed for all Monday in the whole world. And this is 2018, when we have the e-commerce working 24 hours and US dollars were not working. We're talking about SWIFT. Visa and Master obviously were working. With the blockchain, there is no time, there is no government, there is no holidays, there are no people, nothing. It's just a machine. It works 24/7, non-stop. So the reason for the reason why we have stable coins is because people wanted some kind of representation of money, fiat money, but on a blockchain with all the benefits of a blockchain. So, for example, if you own the token, no one can take it from you. If you send it, that's it. You send it. You can't, get it back. No one can freeze your account. No one can freeze the transaction, and so on. Then there are exchanges which don't accept SWIFT. They don't have a bank account like a Binance started off with.
For instance, yes.
Yeah, but they wanted to trade with the US dollar. So the stablecoin named Tether, made by the same group as the exchange Bitfinex, is used on the Binance as the main pair, as like a representation of US dollar to Bitcoin to Ether to other exchanges. So it's a good concept how to hedge your cryptocurrency risks on the exchanges which don't have the bank accounts.
We have several questions.
Go for it.
From the audience, which is
interesting.
Yes. So one question is, are there general guidelines which an exchange must follow in order to secure the funds held on the exchange? In your specific case. So this is a regulatory question too. And it's coming from our US audience. What is the regulation today? And is there any regulation? Do you have to follow something, or is it just trust? Do you have your personal, internal corporate guidelines? What do you do with the funds? How do you secure them?
So there are no standards. There are no regulation which says that you have to do this and that, and you're not allowed to do this and this. So right now, all the exchanges just work on the principle, common sense. Best practices and some internal know-how. So for example, when we're talking about the security, what we do, we don't hold more than 5% of the assets on the hot wallets. We keep them on the cold wallets. Cold wallet is basically a wallet which is not connected to the internet. If it's not connected to the internet, there is no way the hackers could hack them. So for example, if all users deposits 100 Bitcoins or 1,000 Bitcoins, the maximum that's gonna be on the wallet is 5%. Why 5%? Because this is approximately what we need during the day for people to withdraw and deposit. If something happens and people want to withdraw more, we just initiate the process. Well, it's a long and difficult process, but we do it of transferring from cold to hot. But that's simplified version. Actually, is you have the hot wallet, you have deposit wallet, you have warm wallet, and then you have the cold wallet. So it's a combination of 4 wallets that we use to keep crypto. That's it.
So another.
But that's common sense and internal. But there is no guideline.
So first, there's no current regulation. This state regulation. Does it mean that second, you are using the internal practices to secure the funds against fraud? So there are 2 related questions. Is it what you are doing in the gray area, or illegal, or legal? Can we have a regulator come in, like the central bank? I'm on the council of the central bank. Can potentially the central bank say that your exchange is illegal? Or
in Ukraine or in the US?
In Ukraine. We're talking about
Ukraine. Well, Ukraine is a different story. You don't have to be a criminal for police to come to your apartment. So same with the national bank, but it's not illegal. Right now, we're using Constitution of Ukraine, which says that people own the power in this country, and unless we do something illegal. If we're not doing something illegal, we're perfectly on the safe side. So right now, we don't do anything bad, so there is no reason for them to come in. And again, we don't have, bank accounts that we use. So there is no way.
So you're basically, so you're not illegal, but there's no regulation which regulates you at this point.
But I'm not bank. As you know,
I know you're not
banks are like specific structures which can only do whatever national bank says they're allowed to do.
Yeah, you're not a bank.
I'm a free man, so I do wherever is not illegal.
All right, so I can, I've spoken once to Honorary about, not you specifically, but blockchain and Bitcoin exchanges and cryptocurrencies.
She's the ex-governor of the.
Yeah,
National
she's
Bank.
the ex-governor of the National Bank of Ukraine. Actually, I had lunch with her earlier today,
No, good.
and we were not discussing you. We were discussing
She's
something
yeah,
else.
she's on the news.
With
Yesterday.
her
With a new startup.
We're also talking about a startup there, actually, educational startup. So that's what we were discussing. And we've been talking about this for a while. She just got into news because, anyway, a couple of days, a reporter, she's in startup business now, in innovation too. And it's interesting to see the transformation of perspective. And it's enjoyable to see in many ways.
Anyway,
But the discussion about exchanges were similar to, I think, the question we're having from our audience is, can you just pack and leave? I understand there is trust, but this was the concern of Honorary, saying unless we regulate these guys, unless we regulate in some sense that there is, okay, you're a great guy, we trust you, we know you, but what guarantees?
great guy is not the profession.
Exactly, it's not corporate governance.
Yeah.
Trust is not corporate governance.
Sure.
Trust is a consequence of corporate governance or state governance or something like that. And the concern of many people, including the regulators in the United States, is in some sense that people will be abused. On the other hand, is if these are rich people who know what they are doing, who they trust, that's in some sense their business, right?
I understand the question.
So the question is, how do you address that question?
Right now, if you send crypto to any of the exchanges, including mine, you're giving it or gifting them the crypto.
Yes.
If you read all the terms and conditions of any exchange, you're actually gifting crypto to the whoever owns the exchange. That's the fact. The reason for that is, it's just how it works right now. It's not good, it's not bad, it's somewhere in the middle. But the risk is there, and we have a lot of cases when, founders
people
of
disappear,
exchanges
yeah.
there.
That's
For
exactly what
example,
Honorary said.
Yeah.
Unless she says, and she's proactive on that as opposed to some other guys, she says, unless we clear this up and make it possible to regulate, and I don't want to, that's my interpretation, maybe that's not what she said, I don't want it to be misinterpreted, but that's the discussion we had, that unless it is regulated, some of the guys will pack at some point, and that might negatively affect the market fundamentally, because if we want markets to grow, we need to regulate them, that there's some trust and there's minimized, but that goes against the notion of freedom and decentralization and state not being present in the blockchain community, right? So we're saying the risk is there, but how is the blockchain community is trying to address this risk?
I'll answer, she's right in some points, and the key word is some points.
Yeah.
The reason for that, if we look at the Ukrainian banking system, which is heavily regulated, or any banking system on the world.
It's also not working.
For example, Ukrainian, it's regulated. But we also have the cases when people, actually the founders of a bank just packed the cases and left.
Absolutely.
With all the money. And the banks were regulated, and you know who these people are. And today I actually met with one of the ex-heads of the banks, and he was supposed to be in jail, but he was, free.
Yeah, we're talking, this people might or might not know our audience.
The government is not the best regulator.
So let me just, yes, so guys, we're gonna break for, we have a short break for 5 minutes. We need to recharge some of the equipment. And
collect the questions, yes?
Yeah, and collect the questions, and then we'll answer all the questions. But I just want to mention, just to give people the background context, in Ukraine, many of the banks, about half of the banks, have been removed from the market because of either bankruptcy, insolvency, or non-transparency.
Similar, I would say a fourth point.
Go ahead. The fourth one.
Because the banks were just raided by the government.
Well, we're not.
That's my point of view.
I know that's your perspective. That's not what I'm gonna speak against that, but we're not gonna discuss that. Yeah, and I think there were legitimate reasons, but that's not how everyone perceives. But I think the important part is that what Mike alluded to is that in the developing countries. And I think, it's true, but specifically in the countries where we have less trust for the government, this is where blockchain potentially is disruptive. And at the same time, we are saying, listen, when we're going to connect blockchain to real economy, that's what's called, many of us call last mile problem. At the last mile problem of the connection, there could be fraud. And because it's not regulated, but the alternative, the question is on the alternative, is the state a better regulator of this last mile problem in other industries if we're not using blockchain as the technology? And the answer is often not. So
and the answer would be in 5 minutes after we come back.
And the answer comes, and we'll take all the questions which are in the chat.
Yeah, so
we will talk to you in 5 minutes. It's
are they going to be in the same?
on the same link,
stream,
right?
yeah, same
It's going to be the
link,
same
same
stream,
link.
and we will answer all the questions. Okay, thank you very much.
5-minute break. Нажал паузу?
Back. Okay, so we're back. Yes, we're gonna continue with questions and then come back to some other
How's
questions.
the sound? Does it sound good?
Is the sound
Okay,
okay? Great. So here's another question. This time from Jack. What industries do you think will be impacted the most by blockchain in the long term?
In the long term.
Yeah, not in the next year or two, but we're talking about 5, 10, 15 years. In your view, what do you think will be affected?
Finance?
Okay.
The broader term,
Yeah.
so the banking and the financial world.
markets.
Yes. And governments.
Governments, and what can you clarify what you mean by governments?
The way people cooperate with the government. That's one. How the governments work internally. So I think the blockchain will be used in a lot of databases used in the government, especially in the countries like Ukraine. So like we don't have any secrets from the outside world. Anything that could be secret, which was already sold either to Russia or to US by the mix of presidents. So right now we don't have the nuclear power. We don't have any secrets, so there is nothing to hide. So why don't just put the almost all the databases, like we're talking about land registry, we're talking about the company registries, we're talking about, I don't know, some kind of internal databases of ministries.
We have very limited commercial secrets and national security secrets at this point. So transparency, the concerns of trade-off between transparency and privacy.
For Ukraine and for most of the small countries, developing countries.
Lies in choosing the transparency, and therefore blockchain is a great way of ensuring transparency.
Long-term will come in the next 5 years.
How is it gonna come around if you have all these guys who benefit from, let's say, you take any of our transportation or procurement or something. We have been successful here with improving procurement transparency somewhat. But yes, you're right. People are very, very interested in earning some rents by, cutting deals with the government, commercial deals under the table, which resists, let's say, or precludes competition or dropping the prices. People earn rents on trying to either change records or not allowing others to see what they are doing, right?
Exactly, and blockchain is doing exactly that. You can't change the records and you can't hide anything from the records. It's open.
All right, so I take your word for that. I actually very much hope that you're correct.
And the next thing, elections on the blockchain.
Okay. So there has been a discussion a little bit in the literature about elections, and the issue again, the sort of last mile. It's more mobilization.
We're talking about again the so-called argument. It's called in Russia the grandmother dilemma.
Yes.
They were saying that old people can't use Facebook and so on. But I mean. If we look at from the other perspective, when Zuckerberg was creating Facebook, he wasn't thinking about the grandmothers or elderly people. He was thinking about the 20-year-olds.
I buy that
Facebook
completely.
is used by even my parents.
I
they're
think,
like 60 plus.
So my take on this would be it's an issue of mobilization of the voters more than manufacturing the elections. And the interesting question is whether blockchain will help mobilize younger or more proactive voters.
Again, blockchain is the back end.
Yes.
And the front end and how it's going to look, and whether it will be a difficult smartphone or it will be just 2 buttons. It's just the issue of front end, how you pass this technology to people. But I think it will be the future is there. And the reason why I believe that we're going to have more and more blockchain in the governments, especially in the small open economy countries like Ukraine, and especially very corrupt ones, is that there are some people who are in power and there are some people who want to be in power. And in order to promise something to people new, they need to, either, fantasize,
you're saying they basically record the
blockchain.
Promises in some way or something like that.
Or they're just gonna say blockchain is the way to get rid of these people. So they'll be the
so you're making the political competition argument that some people, in order to come to power, will have to give rents to people by promising more transparency doing it in a credible way by installing blockchain technology in the government.
That's right.
Okay, let's hope it works. I'm all for it. Another question from Noah.
Listing.
Listing. How does an exchange decide whether or not a coin should be listed, aside from paying the fee, and what is the process that it must go through to be listed?
The process is pretty much the same on majority of the exchanges. So first you have filed your application, where you describe what's your token, your website, your smart contract address, who's your team, then links to most popular forums, any other publications, so proof of your presence. GitHub, whether you can see that publicly that you're developing something. So we analyze then this data and see how, the level of scam there. If we see that there is the active GitHub with the active community, we see that there is active discussion of this project on the popular forums. We see that the website is there. We see that the team is actually real. It's not just the photos taken from the internet. It's a real people who are traveling to the conferences or doing the public debates or something like that. So we can prove that these people exist. Then we see that's the
To basically verify
that's the criteria.
the popularity and the reality, the feasibility of this.
And we see whether they actually develop.
Do you have a committee, or it's you who decide that there's a formal procedure, informal, it's based off a field?
It's we have the two people who are just searching information, and they give their own feedback, and then after that they bring it to the board, and we as the board decide whether this is the good token to list or not. But most of the time we're just looking whether it's scam or not scam. If it's scam, we're just definitely not pushing it and probably listing it on the exchange.
I see. Okay, question from Yarden. How will newer technology than blockchain, affect blockchain and existing cryptocurrencies in the future? One example, he's talking about hash graph, but I think he means something more general. It's just an example. How would you think, because, blockchain right now is a new technology, but maybe 20 years from now or 5 years from now, it won't be. So what do you think, how it will evolve, not disrupt the existing things, but will be disrupted by others? Or evolution of blockchain, what's going to be happening?
Well, there is definitely something beyond blockchain. But right now I see that blockchain is the good technology to open the doors or break the walls of the government or the financial sector. So Bitcoin is like this, heavy ball that is like,
going
through the walls. And once we have the hole, the new technologies, it would be easier for them to, penetrate the new or old markets. So I'm not saying that the blockchain is the solution for all the problems in the world that we have. It's just a good solution for some problems that we have. And right now, it's probably the best technology to do it in a decentralized, public, audible. I'd say this is the top 3 picks from me. Way.
Cool. Okay, now questions from Ranan. One is, what regulatory or legal barriers, we have talked a bit about this, have you encountered as you have been developing KUNA Exchange? And the second question will be about the regulator. How could the central...
Let's answer the first question.
Okay.
Well, first, I received a letter from the National Bank in 2015, I guess. It was beginning of 2015. No, it was end of 2014. I received a letter from National Bank saying that Bitcoin is not registered payment system. It's not the currency. It looks like what they called it. Not the fake currency. What's this term?
Private money?
No. Anyway, it's a fake money and it's not registered with the National Bank. Hence, we can't, as a National Bank, we can't protect people from the loss of anything in crypto. So we suggest that you close your agency. That was the email. After that, in April or May of 2015, I was in the office of the prosecutor. Who were asking me questions, and then at the end of the 15, I had police raiding my apartment. So that's the only regulation so far I had. Since that, they don't touch me. But we're always in the contact, so...
in a good contact, in the bad contact?
In neutral. We're not enemies, we're not friends, but neutral.
Okay. The second question is about central bank, actually. How could the central bank of a country like Ukraine benefit from implementing a national cryptocurrency, like hryvnia or something like that? Crypto hryvnia. How could it go wrong?
That's my very favorite topic. So crypto hryvnia, that's the project I've been working for more than almost 2 years now. The logic is simple. I believe that sooner or later, big corporations in US will create their own tokens, backed by either balances or services or just US dollars. And for example, Google dollar. We have Google Pay. Now there will be Google Pay on the blockchain, which won't have any boundaries, which would be backed by US dollars, and it will be US dollar. It will be accepted everywhere where Google is already, and it's pretty much any POS terminal right now. So like on Android, it's Google Pay. On iPhone, it's Apple Pay. Yeah. So it's pretty much the same thing. And once this happens, countries like Ukraine, they will immediately switch to Google dollar. The reason for that, we don't trust our national currency. So, for example, in Ukraine, if you ask a person how much the iPhone 10 costs in Ukraine, they'll answer you probably like, I don't know, $800. The answer will be $800. It won't be the equivalent in hryvnia, it will be in dollars. If you ask a person how much this car costs, they will answer you in dollars. If you're asking how much what's the price of the house, of apartment, anything expensive, they'll answer you in US dollars. So anything like, I think it's about $500. So anything below $500 is denominated in national currency. Yeah. Anything above is US dollars. Savings, we keep our savings in US dollars. We don't keep it in hryvnia. The reason for that, because it falls just exactly like that. So 1 month ago, the hryvnia, 26 hryvnias bought you $1. Today, you need $28 to buy $1.
28 hryvnias, yeah, to buy $1.
28 hryvnias, yes. So once this happens, the crypto US dollar from any big trusted corporation, I'll be the first who will be using it. To keep my funds, to do international trade, wherever. It will be like a bank account without the bank. So the reason for a national currency lies in between the case I just described, and the other side is that banks work from 9 till 5, and the world works 24/7 right now. So we need the national cryptocurrency issued by the national bank, but it has to be not just issued by the national bank like hryvnia, it has to be issued in an audible way. So we know exactly how much crypto hryvnias is issued, because it's on the blockchain, we can see it. Secondly, we should see where this crypto hryvnia is going, how it's used by government. So it's a transparency of the budget. Secondly, people, instead of relying on the banks, they could rely on the national bank. We have, tiny bit, but more trust to the national bank than the banks. And exactly, you said like 20 minutes ago that about 100 banks left the market in the past 4 years, and a lot of people lost a lot of money because it was held in the private institutions rather than the national bank. So here there is no way your wallet can bankrupt unless the country bankrupts.
Okay.
So yeah, somewhere in between. It's 24/7 economy. It's you don't have to trust the bank. You can, if foreigner wants to deal, do some commerce with the Ukrainian institutions or people, they can buy crypto hryvnia for Bitcoin, send it here, and pay for the services or wherever. Pay for freelancers.
So this means
wherever.
that there could be a different exchange rate between hryvnia and
probably yes.
Because crypto hryvnia, we can observe that there's no hidden emission or instruments being used, and
that's one of the risks. Second risk, we don't need banks.
Yeah, that's undermining.
And the
banks.
question is, what are we going to do with all the people who work in the banks?
Well, they also presumably have some function of identifying the projects which
maybe, but we don't need 80-something banks which we have right now. Probably we're going to leave with the 3, like with the mobile operators. We don't need 100 mobile operators. Usually in most of the countries there is like 2 or 3 mobile operators. Same will be with the banks, 2 or 3 banks left in the country. They won't be doing the current account, because the current account you can keep with the national bank and crypto hryvnia, but probably they'll engage into deposits and credits, something more sophisticated.
Some financing, some financing.
Maybe something like that. But still, there is a question. It's the same dilemma that Margaret Thatcher had in the 70s with the miners. You know, she had to close the mines, but what to do with all the miners? Same here, what to do with all the bankers?
I see. So you think
A lot of
bankers
people.
are the new miners now?
Yeah.
Well, this is fantastic. I'll just keep it. I need to write down this quote. This quote. Bankers are the new miners.
Of England in 70s, yeah.
New miners of England in the 70s.
That was Wales, if I'm correct. The mines they have in Wales. Not in
Well,
England, yeah.
anyway.
In Great Britain, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So more questions. One question is coming from Maria, I think. What do you think the future of Bitcoin and altcoins is if the market continues to operate in deliberately gray area of governance? So it's not whether it will eventually be recognized and become mainstream. It's imagine there is no cooperation with
Nothing
the
changes.
Nothing changes. Yeah. So what is it gonna be gradually? It's gonna die out.
I don't think it's gonna die out because it's a specific product for specific use cases. So probably it's not gonna get huge mass adoption if it's gonna stay in a gray area, and at least the companies won't be able to use it if it's in a gray area. That's obvious. So it's gonna be used among the regular people. It will be used in some cases of transferring money from one country to another, like alternative to SWIFT or MoneyGram or what else there. But yeah, I don't think anything will bad happen.
So it just stay.
It will just stay, yeah. It will definitely stay here.
Okay.
The only risk right now I see if U.S. governments will, come out and say that Bitcoin is, used only by the terrorists and money laundering. So anyone
Then people
who
might run away from it.
and anyone who's using Bitcoin is the
Gonna be
criminal. In
persecuted
that
by
case,
the
yeah,
US,
in that case it will be die like. And there is a good chance of that happening because in the 20s they collected all the gold from the U.S. citizens and no one, couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Everything is falling. Fantastic. I love it.
Everything is falling.
Yeah, I like when everything is falling.
Why?
Because the bubble is bursting. We're coming back to,
To normal.
regular work. Yeah, normal. We're getting rid of this useless
Useless, yes.
people. Yeah, useless people, useless
you
money.
like that.
I love it. I
You
love
love
it. I love it. I love it.
Great.
I think we should fall at least twice again. But this is not the financial advice.
Good. All right. So, when cryptocurrency market, this question is from Tymofiy. When cryptocurrency market is relatively developed, how would cryptocurrency react to major political changes? How would volatility behave comparing to US or hryvnia?
Well, what I see right now that Bitcoin is the good hedge from the global problems, potential new wars, global wars, or potential new economic crisis or financial crisis is the good stimulus for growth of the Bitcoin.
So
That's the only. But I
major-
won't say there is 100%
Negative
correlation,
correlation,
but the correlation is definitely there. I mean, if you look at the
So the
major,
global economy gonna have some serious
definitely,
issues.
well, because
will
people
go
are
into-
looking for somewhere to hide. U.S. dollar is no longer the most credible place to hide your money. Again, the reason for that is that. I mean, everyone is trying to, well, at least in this country, to hedge in US dollars because hryvnia is falling against US dollars. But we don't see that US dollar is also falling. If you look at the basket of goods that you can buy for $100 20 years ago and right now, you'll be very surprised.
There's absolutely inflation there. Okay, a question from Noah. What would be the effect of total adoption of crypto, a similar related kind of assumption on exchanges this time? Would large exchanges like New York Stock Exchange be too much of competition due to the trust they have already built with large financial players. So the question is, imagine, okay, maybe not Ukrainian exchanges because there are no strong Ukrainian exchanges, but imagine the large international exchanges adopt trading in crypto. What would it mean to exist in?
I don't think they'll actually trade the Bitcoin. They'll probably trade ETF. That's what we see with the SEC right now. And ETF, to be honest, is just, promise of something. It's not deliverable by Bitcoin, actual cryptocurrency. So it's going to have an effect on price, but it's not.
But imagine they start. So we live in a different universe where imagine New York Stock Exchange starts.
That's good.
That's good. What's going to happen to?
We're going to have the new people coming in.
So you think there will be enough room even for small exchanges?
Why not? Because me personally, as the private individual in Ukraine, in order for me to get into the New York Stock Exchange or any foreign other stock exchanges, I need to register with the broker who is registered on the stock exchange. Somehow I need to transfer my money to that broker. I would have to prove that this money is mine and it's earned in the legal way, and so on and so on. So it's a lot of barriers for me to go and buy crypto on the New York Stock Exchange. But for US citizens, probably it would be easier. If more people could buy and sell, it means that the crypto would be more liquid, which I don't think is a bad thing. There will be always a niche for the smaller players who would provide services without the broker or to the local currency with the local regulation, or they'll do the custodian, or they'll do, acquiring or something like that. A lot of services they can provide.
Okay, another question. Would cryptocurrency behave as some currency, or is it more as a currency eventually, or as a financial asset?
Crypto? Are we talking about the Bitcoin? Or?
Yeah.
I don't think the Bitcoin is here to substitute US dollar or euro. I think it's just a separate product, which is closer to electronic gold rather than the fiat currency. And the reason for that is that in 70s the people decided that there is no more economic reason that we should hedge to US dollar. And hence the fiat money was created. And there is a economic reason for that. There is a reason for inflation. There is a reason that so the economy can grow. And Bitcoin is limited, so it's like gold. There is only 21 million ever could exist. So it's not ideal
as a
method as the currencies which you use every day. It's good for overseas transfer. It's good as a store of value, although the exchange rate, but it's still better than hryvnia, for example. It's good for keeping your money safe, away from the government, away from anyone who wants to take it away from you. Again, this is the use case more related to Ukraine rather than to US. But there is definitely like some use cases where you can use decentralized cryptocurrencies. Then there will be stable coins by national governments. There will be stable coins by the corporations. There will be private money stable coin, or just the private cryptocurrencies by some entities, and there will be probably still fiat.
Okay,
so we mixture.
Okay, another question. So the current, and I'm rephrasing, it's also from thinking. I'm rephrasing it a little bit. He asks, what would be the first recession of the development of cryptocurrency? And then he expands a little bit. He says, for example, the artificial intelligence and VR technology kept developing since 60s, let's say, but in the 80s and 90s bubbles came into play, and there was not that much development during that time until recently. So could this, that we observe the bubble bursting, could this actually preclude or slow down the development of blockchain?
Don't think so.
Why not?
Because with regards to artificial intelligence and VR, apart from the bubble, there was also a technical problem that was there to solve. So, for example, the goggles, I couldn't imagine goggles in 80s. I mean, they would be huge. The artificial intelligence, you need a lot of computer power for that. With the blockchain, we have all the technological
Elements in place
elements,
for
yeah. So they're already here, yeah. And we have the market where we can use this. So I think blockchain is definitely going to be used. It's already used. I mean, it's here.
Okay. So another question from Yarden: how will quantum computing affect cryptocurrencies? Do you see there being a way to save the current cryptos, or will there need to be a new for new quantum cryptos?
I'm not the technical expert, but I've read a couple of articles on this, and they say that the quantum computers are not gonna affect crypto. The reason for that is once the quantum computers would be available to the broader masses, the first thing I would do if I owned the quantum computers, I would go and try to hack a national bank or a bank or army or something, to get in possession of something more valuable than the Bitcoin. So I'm not worried about the quantum computers and Bitcoin right now. I'm more worried about the nuclear weapons and the quantum computers and someone bad who could control them.
A question from Noah: how does KUNA attract more people to the exchange? If money were not a limiting factor, what would you change in order to maximize appeal to new members? What would you invest into? How would you invest into market? What would you market, or what would you make it more appealing?
Right now, the problems that we have is more on the technical side. We just hired we added new people to the technical team. So, but anyway, once you get big in your code, adding anything new to this big machine is quite difficult. So right now we chopping this machine into small microservices, and it just takes time. So promoting, just standard ways of marketing, loyalty of your existing customers, get more customers on board, new markets. We plan new markets like Georgia, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Turkey. In probably next year, we're gonna enter some of these markets. Georgia would be the first market where we're gonna enter. So yeah, new countries and better services.
Cool.
Same thing. I mean,
yeah.
For any business, I work for any business.
So Noah has a question: how do exchanges safeguard against pump and dump schemes? Do members holding large amounts of BTC pose a risk to exchanges?
How exchanges safe from pump and dump? Well, the pump and dump happens on the exchange, so they don't save. It could be that the exchange is involved in pump and dump, which is probably right for the majority of the big ones. Like we're not gonna say which ones, I think, but and the other one is when pump and dump is happening on the exchange without the exchange involved. In the second instance, the exchange just earns a lot of money because they're paying a commission. So how can people save from this? You can't. I mean, just don't hold crypto.
Okay.
Or sell it for fiat if you like, or for gold, something like that. Cash out, basically. That's the only way.
All right. How
or
would
hold the portfolio? I don't know.
Yeah.
Very similar to financial markets. Same thing.
How would blockchain affect accuracy of information? Can blockchain guarantee originality or accuracy also? And the last question, I think that's the very last question: how would open source and automation affect cryptocurrency development, and how would them affect service providers of cryptocurrency? So it's a broad, open-ended question, basically about the uses and development. And
so could you repeat that question again?
how would blockchain affect accuracy of information? Can it help, I guess, with
with the accuracy?
Yeah. Can blockchain guarantee originality? of the information are also somehow guaranteed that the information is accurate, not only that it was the original, that it is...
Well, the blockchain is just a database. And, I mean, the database can't guarantee you that this data is accurate or not, and it's not supposed to. It can hold this data. With the open decentralized blockchains, you know that anything which was put into the blockchain is there to stay and no one can change it. So for example, we can just write something down on this notepad, take a photo of that, and then take the hash of this photo and put on a blockchain. That would mean that this photo was taken at this time, but the matter that the hash of this photo is on the blockchain doesn't mean that whatever was written on the paper wasn't here before or was correct, because I mean it just says that this photo was taken at that time and that's it. But was this information here before? You don't know.
Okay, so there is a question from Will. Building off Noah's previous question, what are the main points of competition between exchanges? How do you compete? How are exchanges able to differentiate themselves from their competitors? For example, how do you compete or differentiate from your competitors here in Ukraine that you mentioned earlier?
Okay, so majority of exchanges try to compete on the fact of so-called liquidity. So the volume, you go to CoinMarketCap, you filter by exchanges and see what's the maximum volume and which exchange it is. But because everyone knows that this is what the people are looking at, the exchanges just switch off the commission and just I don't even know how to say this correctly and politically correct.
You're saying correct. Say politically incorrect.
They're just faking the numbers because they have zero commission on their own product.
So they run up the volumes on their own trading.
Obviously, and the reason how you can check that, you go and on the actual exchange and see what's the volume in the buy and sell. And usually you can see that, for example, there's a 2 Bitcoins worth of tokens in the bid and ask, but the trade volume was 2,000 Bitcoins, which is unrealistic. You can't have 2 Bitcoins and trade is 2,000.
Yeah, you basically have the depth of orders currently, and then you see the volume being inconsistent with that, yes.
Exactly, and if you check pretty much every single exchange, you'll see that they're ranking the volume up maybe 10 times, some of them even 20 times. And so they try to differentiate on that. But if you go there with the real money and you try to buy the crypto in large volumes, you won't be able to do that in most cases. So that's one of the ways we try to differentiate.
You try to differentiate by having the depth of...
Yeah, this is not our case because it's, for us it would be stupid if we were going to show tens of millions or hundreds of millions of $1,000 of trade volume. So we differentiate on the, we give the local currency. And all the markets which I said, we're going to have the local currencies top up and withdrawal. Quality of service, by that I mean how long it takes to get a reply from the service tech team. User interface, ease of use. Some people do referral programs where you have the referral link, aggressive marketing. It's same any business.
More or less standard business practice.
It's very close to perfect competition in economics. Yeah. Very close, and that's why I love it. Yeah. Because there is very little way you can differentiate between the products. They're it's a global. Information is free and immediate to everyone. And the only small bits where you can differentiate, for me, it's Grivna at the moment. But it will be Lari, it will be Turkish lira.
Okay, so this is how you're going also to differentiate with the local competitors, because you're going to have broader.
Yep.
Okay, makes good sense. I want to start wrapping up, but I also want to talk to you a little bit about your background. Your education, what you did before, how you come to blockchain and crypto. Why did you start? Can you tell us anything a little bit about yourself, about your past?
I went to boarding school in England. My parents sent me there when I was 13. At first it was all boys boarding school, but then they added girls in the sixth form. Then I went to university in London, City University London. Then I moved to Pakistan because my father bought a business there, telecom business there in Pakistan. Then I came back to Ukraine in 2005, where I was there was another telecom business in Ukraine. I was at first the deputy commercial director, then the commercial director, then the business developer director. And then in 2009, after the crisis, because the telecom is heavily reliant on the credit money, and we couldn't get any more money from anyone because of the global crisis, which also occurred in Ukraine, 2008, and it became really boring. There is nothing you can do without the money in telecom. So I decided it's a good time to go and do an MBA. So I moved to New York. I did my GMAT test in New York and also looked around for the university. So I went to Yale, I went to Columbia, I almost went to Howard, but then in the last day I decided not to go. So in the end I decided I should go to Columbia. And I joined not the MBA, I joined the executive MBA. I spoke to alumni of both MBA and executive MBA, and I thought that the EMBA is best fit for me. Also, I chose the EMBA Global program, which is Columbia University, London Business School, and Hong Kong University. So it's like 3 universities included. And because it's executive MBA, I had 3 weeks of the month back home, which I used to start a new business. It was in digital marketing. Together with the partners, we had digital marketing agency. Standard thing, we did the digital strategies, all the SMM, SEO, websites, all the stuff. And at that time, I noticed Bitcoin. That was end of 2011. But I thought it was some kind of Ponzi scheme. And then I came back to Bitcoin about half a year later. It just, universe just gave me, have a look at this again. So I looked at it again and I thought that this is something definitely interesting. So I was studying it, but slowly. And then in 2013, in April, when the Cyprus banking crisis happened again, the Bitcoin showed up in the news and said that this was one of the means to get money out of the Cyprus. So I thought this is probably something interesting and I should spend more time. And basically, since April 2013, I don't do anything else apart from Bitcoin and blockchain.
Cool.
So I have the agency. Well, I said everything that I do already. Yeah.
That's absolutely fascinating. So you think you'll be doing blockchain for the rest of your life?
For the next 3 years, definitely. But then I'm interested in something hybrid. So blockchain with something else, artificial intelligence and blockchain. This is something I'm very interested into.
Can you comment on that a little
Not
bit?
yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
So okay, good. We'll speak in 3 years, right?
Okay.
We'll see what's happening there. Yes, when it's all developed. Great. This was a pleasure. Thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed
Noah,
it.
thank you for the good questions. You're very active.
Well, no, but there's also Tianka and there's Will and
Guys, all thank you. Yeah.
There are several people. Yeah, there are
You
also,
just named it Noah, so I just remember his name.
Well, there's Yarden and I think Maria was there and Ranan. Yeah, all fantastic questions. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
And Jack was too. So I'll see you next week, and we might hear again from Mike. And if you have further questions, you can send them here, and I'll transfer to them. Thank you very much.
We can answer in the comments.
Yeah, we can answer in the comments or through chat. Will is saying thanks, and others are saying thank. See
Thank
you guys.
You guys.
Yeah,
Have a good one.
cool.